Hello, welcome back to another video. Without wasting any time, let's dive into today's topic: U.S. invasion of Canada. Part 1. Background: Tensions brewing. By 1812, the United States was only 36 years old, but already clashing with Britain, the world's greatest naval power. Britain was locked in war with Napoleon in Europe, and American ships were caught in the crossfire. The British Navy impressed, or forced, thousands of American sailors into service. Trade restrictions strangled the U.S. economy. On top of that, Americans accused Britain of arming native tribes to resist U.S. expansion into the frontier. In June 1812, the U.S. declared war on Britain. But rather than attack across the ocean, American leaders decided the easiest way to hurt Britain was to invade its colony to the north: Canada. Part 2. The First Invasion. Detroit. The first American invasion came from Detroit in July 1812. General William Hull led U.S. troops into Upper Canada, expecting Canadians to welcome them. Instead, they faced stiff resistance from British regulars, Canadian militia, and native warriors, led by the great Shawnee chief Tecumseh. Hull panicked when British General Isaac Brock bluffed him into believing thousands of native fighters surrounded the city. Without firing a major shot, Hull surrendered Detroit, one of the most humiliating defeats in American military history. Part 3. Failed invasions along the border. Over the next year, the U.S. launched multiple invasions along the border. At Queenston Heights in October 1812, American troops crossed the Niagara River but were overwhelmed by British and Canadian forces. General Brock was killed in the battle, becoming a Canadian hero. In 1813, U.S. forces burned the town of York, modern-day Toronto. But this victory was short-lived. The British retaliated later by burning Washington, D.C., including the White House. Most American invasions ended in failure or stalemate, as Canada proved far harder to conquer than expected. Part 4. Naval War on the Great Lakes. Control of the Great Lakes was crucial. Both sides built warships at a frantic pace. In 1813, Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry led the U.S. Navy to victory at the Battle of Lake Erie, declaring, "We have met the enemy, and they are ours." This secured U.S. control of the lake and forced the British to retreat. But despite naval successes, American ground invasions into Canada remained inconsistent and often disastrous. Part 5. The Native Alliance and Tecumseh. For Native nations, the war was a fight for survival. Tecumseh, the Shawnee leader, allied with the British to resist American expansion. He became a symbol of unity among tribes, leading warriors with incredible skill. But in 1813, at the Battle of the Thames, Tecumseh was killed. His death shattered the Native Alliance, and with it, the dream of an independent Native Confederacy in the Midwest. Part 6. The Final Invasions. In 1814, the U.S. tried one last time to capture Canada. At Lundy's Lane, near Niagara Falls, one of the bloodiest battles of the war took place. Thousands fought to a standstill, with neither side gaining ground. Exhaustion, mounting casualties, and war weariness set in. Neither the U.S. nor Britain could claim victory, and Canada remained unconquered. Part 7. Peace and Aftermath. By late 1814, both sides were eager for peace. The Treaty of Ghent ended the war, restoring pre-war borders. The United States had failed to conquer Canada, but it had defended its independence against Britain. For Canadians, the war became a defining moment, proof that they could resist American invasion. For Native peoples, the war ended in tragedy, as British support faded and U.S. expansion continued. The War of 1812 remains a complex chapter in North American history, remembered as America's Second War of Independence and Canada's fight for survival. The end. When the United States invaded Canada, it believed the conquest would be easy. Instead, the war proved costly, brutal, and uncertain. Canada endured, native nations suffered, and the United States learned hard lessons about war. The failed invasions remain a little-known story, a time when America tried to change history and failed.